Thank you very much, Las Ceann, and I'd like to thank the Ceann and the Taoiseach for facilitating me, and indeed opposition members as well. And I'm pleased to see that the Taoiseach is prepared to allow us all to cooperate when it comes to EU matters. I think it's hugely important that we don't bring our domestic disputes to the European stage. The selection of the President of the European Commission is an immensely important decision that will be taken at the summit this week. And I would like to lend my voice of support to Jean-Claude Juncker for a number of reasons. Firstly, because he's a good candidate. And I think that there has been a lot of personalisation of this appointment over the last few days, some of it in really bad taste. Jean-Claude Juncker is somebody who has served his country with distinction as Minister for Finance during periods of unprecedented growth in his country, perhaps an example that could be followed by others, and has been a very effective Prime Minister, one of the longest serving in the world, and somebody who I believe has shown great leadership at European level. He's also somebody who I think can help Europe to meet the many challenges that lie ahead, particularly when it comes to reintroducing a strong delivery of growth and opportunity and job creation to Europe's citizens, and somebody who can help us to meet the challenges that lie ahead in terms of completing the single market and completing the sort of structural reforms that will genuinely lead to better prospects for Europe's citizens. Secondly, I think it's important because whether we like it or not, all of the main European parties did sign up to this concept of a top candidate. The Socialists did, the Liberals did, the EPP, Christian Democrats and Conservatives did, and the Greens did. And it's not an ideal format. It's not an ideal solution, but it was a small step in the direction of bringing greater democratic legitimacy to the election process at European level. And the winners of that contest were the EPP, and therefore I think it is appropriate that Herman Van Rompuy, as President of the Council, sought to find a consensus, or at least a strong majority, to endorse the leadership of Jean-Claude Juncker in the European Commission over the next 5 years. All of the political parties signed up to that, and I think it actually would send a very negative signal to the citizens of Europe if they suddenly decided, well, actually we'll go behind closed doors back to the sort of smoke-filled rooms that we're used to arrive at a cosy consensus and to nominate somebody whose name was not before the public. I'm not sure how many European citizens were aware of Jean-Claude Juncker or Martin Schulz or any of the other candidates, Guy Verhofstadt, etc. Probably not very many, but the fact is that the political parties committed to it, and I think it is appropriate now that they try to actually see that process through. My preference would have been a direct election, and it remains to be a direct election to the presidency of the Commission. And I think it's something that Ireland should loudly advocate for. I think we should not be afraid of treaty change in the future to allow that to happen. A direct election would engage all the citizens of Europe and would give them a direct voice as to who will provide leadership in the European Commission and indeed across all of the institutions in the future. So it's something that we should advocate. I want to agree very, very strongly with Deputy Shane Ross because the opportunity now exists for Ireland to do something radically different in terms of how we appoint our Commissioner, to look outside of the old political circles, to look at a new format. And some of my colleagues on the independent benches in the Seanad have put forward a bill in the last week which would give this Parliament, the Oireachtas, and one of our Oireachtas joint committees the power to scrutinise the government's nominee for the position of Irish Commissioner. And I think that would be a really positive step forward. There's absolutely no reason why the government wouldn't accept that proposal, so that if the government has confidence in its nominee, whoever that should be, and I think we should be looking outside of the old political circles. I don't believe it should be a member of cabinet, and I don't believe, frankly, that there should be horse trading between the two parties in government to arrive at a kind of a sweetener or a prize or essentially an exit route for somebody from the current cabinet. I think it would make sense. It would, I suppose, maybe bring this government some way closer to the promised democratic revolution that quite clearly has not occurred. And it would allow this Parliament to have a say in the sort of characteristics, the sort of traits, the sort of skills and abilities that we would like to see in our Commissioner. The role of European Commissioner cannot be overstated. It is a hugely important role. It's one where the future of the European agenda, the growth agenda, the job creation agenda will be shaped, and it's one where Ireland can really have a strong and powerful voice. It should not be a retirement home for failed or unpopular politicians, or to make room for new blood in cabinet. It should be somebody of calibre, of expertise, somebody who can serve this country and indeed all of the European population with distinction. Thank you.